Taiwan's annual military exercises have begun, and with China being increasingly assertive in the past few years, fears of an attack on the island are increasing. China has heavily invested in its armed forces over the past decades. The Navy has seen a massive buildup, which leaves Taiwan at a major disadvantage in numbers. That's why the island is now looking to technology to see if it could give them an edge.
Until recently, workers at this factory near Taipei built boats for leisure cruises and fishing. But new owners have added a deadly model to the product line, their drone manufacturer Thunder Tiger, and they're using the plant to produce a water surface drone Sea Shark capable of attacking military vessels.
If there's really a war or a conflict, the one sea drone can maybe sink billions of dollars of destroyers.
Chinese ships like this are increasingly seen in the waters around Taiwan. Chinese Navy drills. Warnings of an outright attack on the island have multiplied, pushing Taiwan to turn to smart ways to take on the much bigger Chinese Navy. They're looking to learn from others, like the Ukrainians who published this footage of an attack on a Russian warship. Sea drones have proven very effective in Ukraine against Russia's Black Sea Fleet, and since then the interest in this kind of vessel has risen worldwide. Taiwan, being an island, is of course very interested in developing this kind of autonomous sea vessels. Open sea tests with the Sea Shark have gone well, say developers. They worked with Taiwan's top military research institute. The drones are kitted out with cameras and various communication systems to prevent jamming. In the case of war, they could be used for intelligence gathering or driven directly into a vessel in an attack. Sea drones are just part of the Taiwanese government's push to develop its capacities. And yet, China dominates the world market for drones and drone parts. Buying from them is not an option. And ultimately, Taiwan may need to go a step further, says Kathy Fang from DSET, a government-funded think tank.
If in the wartime, like Taiwan is an island, so we can rely on others. Like if we are blockade or quarantine, we need our own supply chain in Taiwan.
Having a totally homegrown drone is not yet possible. But while imports from friendly countries remain permitted, the Taiwanese military requires its contractors to have a strict China-free policy.
That's a challenge in the beginning 2 years ago, but after we managed to design and to get help from Taiwanese company or from a company in Europe and United States, we are able now to have 100% freedom of China parts, but with a little bit more expensive.
At the moment, workers at the factory are still making some small boats for civilians. But the focus for the future is clear. Sue hopes one day they could produce a sea drone a day.
And let's bring in Matthias Boehlinger, who is joining us here in the studio after filing that report. So tell us a little bit more about this technology, especially drones for Taiwan's military defense. How important is this?
It's something that they have learned from the Ukraine war. They have proven effective in the Ukraine war. So it's one of the ways to counter a bigger navy with Taiwan does not have the means or the possibility to build up an equally large navy as China. So you need to find the things that are effective against a bigger navy. That's it.
It's no surprise that there are tensions between China and Taiwan. But what is your impression? I mean, you have covered this region for quite a while. What is your impression of where the tensions stand right now? Is it increasing?
They have been increasing for a long time now. They have been slowly increasing, but steadily. That can, for example, be seen by the number of Chinese planes, sorties of planes that get closer to the island. These numbers have increased tremendously, keeping basically the Taiwanese under stress, under permanent stress. There hasn't been an increase visible or like harsh increase recently, but the steady increase has been happening for a long time now.
How do you think China views, this drone move now from Taiwan? A provocation?
A country that has threatened and asserted its willingness to invade its neighbor, would they view it as a provocation if that neighbor denied them the possibility to invade? Probably yes. Is that the way one should look at this? Taiwan's existence as an independent and self-governed island is viewed as a provocation to China. So the only acceptable way for Taiwan to react in Beijing's eyes is to succumb to Beijing's pressure and become a part of the People's Republic of China and be ruled by the Communist Party. That's the only thing that's not a provocation.
How are you seeing the positioning of Taiwan's partners, for example? I'm thinking specifically about the US and the EU amid these rising tensions, both for its security, but not only that, also for its economy.
I mean, let's talk about the security first. China has said that it wants Taiwan to be part of the People's Republic of China. And it has said that it considers it illegitimate to use force. What prevents it from using force? Most likely, the question whether it would succeed or not.
You think it would?
That's the question that's open, because that depends a lot on how the US and other partners position themselves.
Given the current political atmosphere, yeah.
And given the current political atmosphere, I think China is evaluating now the behavior of the US. So yes, the US is critical for Taiwan's security.
What do we know about how the current policies right now in the United States toward Taiwan?
Taiwanese are very worried about this. Because
the Americans are pivoting to Asia. So how does the issue of Taiwan fit into that matrix?
The issue of Taiwan, or what people are worried about now in Taiwan, is the unpredictability of the Trump administration. For decades, the US have had this, what they call strategic ambiguity. They've never, Biden has in the end, but basically the US hasn't really said what it would do in the case of a Chinese attack on Taiwan. And that led to the consequence that the Chinese did not know how the US would react. Now, if Trump signals that the US would not support Taiwan, that will change the calculus. For Taiwan, it changes how they view their own chances of withstanding a Chinese invasion. And that's a big point of concern, that they might actually lose their biggest ally in this conflict.
Matthias Bollinger, thank you so much for joining us to tell us a little bit more about your reporting in the region and to share that with us. We appreciate it.